Yo guys, Mike for SimRacing604, and welcome to version 1.5 of Automobilista 2. Yes, the game has received another major update, and this one, big focus on physics, but we also have a new DLC pack, which is what you're seeing here. This is the Adrenaline Pack Part 1 DLC, and features Rallycross. So we've got a couple different varieties of off-road cars, and these Rallycross cars. There's 4 cars in total, and what I'm going to do in this video is actually talk a little bit about things you could try out in Automobilista 2 per the latest update that you might enjoy, because it's so huge. This update is absolutely massive and covers more things that I'm sure anyone could reasonably fit into a video. So I just am going to give 3 or 4 scenarios to try out to sort of experience what I feel is AMS2 at its best. And the first among them is this Adrenaline Pack Part 1 DLC. I think they've done a really nice job with Rallycross. Will I still be playing it in 5 days, 5 months, 5 years? Remains to be seen. But for now, it's a really fun, interesting, and new way to experience one of my favorite racing sims. So we're here at Escura, which is my recommendation to try out. There's a number of other... whoa! Nice. A number of other tracks included with the Adrenaline Pack to try out, and there's names like, or sites like Hockenheim and Spa and Nürburgring, and I'm sure those will to some extent steal the headlines. But if you want, in my opinion, a more pure rallycross experience, come to Escura here. It's long and narrow, it's fast, some big sweeping curves. They have to kind of chuck the car around and, you know, catch your slide like this, and yeah, whoops, or not, or just completely go sideways and give up a position. But you know what? It's fun to do either way. So you'll probably have to turn the AI level up. I find it quite easy to win here. The AI tends to brake really early into the corners. But that aside, it's actually really fun racing, and it's you know, quite commonplace to make mistakes, and that's fine. The cars can kind of take a beating more so than you're used to with a lot of the circuit racing cars, and just makes for a good, fun way, as I say, to experience Automobilista 2 in a way you haven't previously. So the first of my recommendations of ways to experience the version 1.5 update is by experiencing the optional DLC, the paid DLC, Adrenaline Pack. Because as I say, they've done a nice job with it. But there's a number of free updates as well, including to the physics of the cars. And I'm going to take you there next, and we'll talk about some of the cars that I feel have benefited most. Alright, let's go on to that now. And next up, we'll talk about a car class that AMS2 is already known for, and that is the older generations of INDYCARs. And we got to go back roughly 20 years for these ones. This is the Gen 2, and the Formula USA Gen 1, 2, 3 focus on late 90s, early 2000s INDYCAR, and they were already really good. To be clear, this wasn't one of the classes that I thought would really benefit from the 1.5 physics updates, but boy did it. These things are just otherworldly to drive now. Even, I would say, the 2023 INDYCARs, which also received significant updates, I would say, you know, have benefited immensely from the physics updates. I didn't think the Gen 1, 2, 3 would, but boy have they. Just otherworldly to drive. Such a great feeling of connection. Such a, you know, fun, alive feeling car. You feel everything the car is doing. The tires just feel more connected now. And again, I didn't think there was a lot of room for improvement, and yet here we are. And I just cannot get enough of these cars. They're predictable by comparison to the outgoing version of the Gen 1, 2, 3 INDYCARs, whereas I would say the outgoing versions were, you know, more of a fight. There was a lot more for you to do as a driver. This one is slightly more predictable, but far from boring. It's just kind of predictable in the right ways. It doesn't do anything erratic, and again, just so good. Such a great feeling of connection. such a fun car to drive. Oh boy, pushing too hard here. Oh, did I connect? Yes. Little connection with the AI there, trying for the daring overtake. But regardless, wherever you drive this, but specifically here at Cleveland, or you can take this out to Long Beach, you can feel that new force feedback feeling, or the new force feedback sensations, I should say. And yeah, what a great car. You know, as loud as ever. It just fills the speakers with this booming V8 noise. And yeah, it's just so good. There's just so much good to say about these cars, and I really think they're among the best car classes. Among the best cars you can drive in sim racing. And yeah, so many great opportunities, so many great tracks here in AMS2 with which to experience it. So definitely, when you jump into 1.5, check out if you have the if you have the Racing USA DLC packs that contain these Formula USA cars, give them a try. I think you're not going to believe it. I think they're just such amazing cars and feel better than ever. Speaking of better than ever, we're here in the GT1 class. Specifically, this is the Mercedes, and this one, I think, I'm interested to hear people's thoughts on it, because obviously GT1 is a fairly common class in the world of sim racing, and there are lots of reference points. You know, you can go over to a lot of different sims and you know, get different sensations of what it's like to drive one of these older GT1 cars. And I'm curious to hear people's thoughts, because I think this one stands up beautifully with these new physics updates. I think better than ever, you can use your accelerator and brake to really steer the car, you know, whereas previously, and much like the INDYCAR, I did enjoy the outgoing GT1 car class, but I think it's better than ever. And as I say, if you come in a little hot to a corner, apply a bit more braking and just feel that car turn in, or you know, if it's not rotating properly on the corner exit, give it a bit of throttle and feel that back end kick out. And yeah, I just really love how this car feels. And right now I'm working on, I guess they're almost up to temp now, but I was just fresh out of the pits, so there wasn't a lot of tire temperature to work with. And the car did feel a little bit skatey, but as you get the tires up to temp and as you get you know, the track a little more rubbered in, you start to really connect with this car. And I would say that it doesn't apply universally to the GT1 class. I drove the Nissan, and that's a car I really want to love. Still not vibing with it, but this Mercedes, definitely better than ever. So I would say take it out to Donington here. It's a track that, you know, much like GT1, it's a track that we have in a lot of sims, a lot of reference points for you know, the lines you should be taking and what the car should feel like and where you should be losing traction, etc. And I think Automobilista 2's holds up beautifully. So again, curious to hear your thoughts on this, because I think this is as good as any in my collection. And really exciting cars, obviously. You know, you've got that Nissan, which again, I don't connect with, but it's at least cool to have on track. You got the Mercedes, you got the Porsche, and you got the Nissan. So some very compelling cars, and just a very exciting class overall. Pardon me. And I think it just works. I think per 1.5, it's better than ever, and a great way to experience Automobilista 2. Lots of exciting, close racing in these cars. If I can ever keep it within the track limits here, I might actually get something done on track. But yeah, either way, just a fantastic way to sim race, and more exciting than ever. Again, it feels more predictable, much like the classic Indy cars, but never boring. And I'll show you that in a second as we go through the chicane up here. You know, you can stick to the lines most times, but if I come out of here and punch the throttle, actually that wasn't a good example at all. Took a bad line. Let's try it again here. Hopefully these guys don't ruin it for me. but as I come out of the corner, get on throttle too early, and that back end kicks out. But it's not some crazy thing that it's impossible to catch, but nor is it so simple or robotic that the back just kind of kicks out and easy counter steer. It does feel like a fight. So I just think they've really nailed the physics. If you can't tell, I love the GT1 cars. I was kind of exploring through many of the car classes that had been updated per 1.5 and decided to try the GT1s and ended up spending way too much time driving these things. Oh, there we go. No track limits violation that time. And yeah, I just connected with it, love it, and just couldn't stop driving it, and I still feel that way. I really feel like Reza has outdone themselves with these GT1s, and yeah, even with this being not quite ubiquitous, but very popular in sim racing, I do think that this holds up nicely. So well done to Reza, and that is my third recommendation, and I've got just one more for you. And next up, we have new P1 class cars. Whole new class. We already had P1, not LMP1, by the way. This is Brazilian prototypes. But yeah, we already had a P1 class, and now we have a P1 class Gen 2, and it includes this all-new car. This is the Sigma P1 G5. I know it's confusing with the P1, blah, 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 but anyway, this is the Gen 2 car, and much like the Formula Junior, this one feels like it was, yeah, sort of a different concept to car building in AMS2. I would say when I first drove the Formula Junior in version 1.4.8, if I'm not mistaken, it was like, okay, this feels different than anything Reza has given us in this title to date. And I would say that same sort of sense of, this is not a typical Automobilista 2 car is present here in this P1 G5. So if you're somebody who has had issues in the past with the physics of AMS2, specifically how the car handles on and a little bit beyond the limit, I would say give this Sigma P1 G5 a try. I'm not guaranteeing that it's going to make everyone happy. Automobilista 2 is like any sim. It has its detractors and, valid criticisms for sure. But yeah, I would say if you're among those who have just never connected with Automobilista 2 and something always felt a little bit off with the physics, and I hear that all the time. I do read the comments, and yeah, if that's you, I would say give this a try because, as I say, I don't think it's going to make everyone happy, but I do think some of the sort of try this one more time. Nagging physics complaints about this title have been addressed in this car, and of course, this being a new car, it doesn't feel like the physics have been sort of retrofitted onto the car like some of the other cars I've talked about in this video. Instead, this is a sort of ground-up approach. Feels like I say, kind of different than what we would expect historically from Reza cars for AMS2. Whoop, that was close. And I'm not as smitten with it as you can probably hear in my voice as I am with the INDYCAR or GT1. It doesn't have that bite beyond the limit. This one is much more predictable, but if that's what you're going for, if you've, again, just never really connected with the physics and the behavior of the cars wasn't for you, this Sigma P1 may very well be for you, because it does feel very predictable at the limit, and it's easy to rotate the car, and when you go a little bit beyond, it doesn't get super exciting, which is good or bad, I guess. But for me, at least, I prefer that little bit of excitement. But this one is just predictable and very straightforward to drive. And as I say, I think it's going to make more people happy than have a lot of the other cars in this title in the past. So, yep, fun nonetheless. But again, just a little bit less for me. But yeah, if you've been struggling to excuse the pun, come to grips with Automobilista 2, definitely give this one a rip. I think you will enjoy it. Alright, a couple more turns here, and I will shut my voice up. Actually, one more turn, and I'll tell you what, let's go for a lap. Let's go for a lap so you can hear this engine. I think it's a V8 engine, if I'm not mistaken. Forgot to check the specs. I would say it's a naturally aspirated V8, judging by the sound. Let's go for a lap. Beautiful. Version 1.5 Automobilista 2 out now. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know some of your favorite car classes or favorite scenarios in AMS2 in the comments below.